Hi there guys, and welcome to this very short video. The thing I forgot to mention when I talked about the Cruel World Festival that we headlined with Susie Sue a couple of weeks ago, I forgot to mention that one of my favourite ever and my first sort of pop star pin-up, when I used to buy like Smash Hits and Look In and those kind of magazines that people of my age will remember from back in the mid 70s to early 80s. That's not age, by the way. I mean, that's the period of time, the 1970s and 80s. There's a guy called Gary Numan, and I've talked about him before here, but this is about the fact that I actually met him. Now, at this point, it'd be lovely to go to some pictures of me and Gary stood together going, or whatever, but you know what? I didn't take any because it was more of a case of, it was a kind of a life goal, if you like, reach to meet him. And the conversation we had was brilliant, and the way it all happened was very, very relaxed. And Doug, Susie's manager, knows Gary and his family really, really well. They're really close friends. And Gary's actually come to see us a few times with Susie. I've seen him in the audience and I've seen him at the side of the stage, and it's such a bizarre feeling seeing one of your favourite pop stars, and really my first pop star. It means even more, I guess, than, you know, to me than David Bowie or Beatles or Buddy Rich or Prince or any of Miles Davis, any of the big people that I love, because he was the first, you know, when I was 8 years old, seeing him on Top of the Pops. So basically what happened, Doug said we're going to arrange a meeting because they were staying on the Cruel World site in their tour bus. And he said, you know, when we agreed that we were going to come back the next night and play and everything, Gary was staying on site anyway. So, and he agreed to play the next day and do the first set, followed by Iggy and then us, which I've talked about. But anyway, we were in the Winnebago after the gig, when the gig actually happened on the Sunday. And, you know, we were having some food and drinking champagne and all hugging. And, oh, it was beautiful. Massive Susie band and crew loving. You know, it was awesome. And then Joe, the bass player, came and said, Rob, come out. Someone you got to meet. And I was like, hey, man, no, I'm doing this. And I'd forgotten that Doug had said he was going to try and arrange a meet with Gary for the Sunday. So I'm like, all right. And then, you know, I got my arm around Joe and I'm sort of going, Joe, what a great gig, man. This is awesome. And there's like a little group of people we were walking towards, and I didn't really pay any attention. And I was like, oh man, yeah, well, great. And the next minute, Joe pushes me to the side because there's a person stood there and then there was a space. He pushed me in that space and then he went round the side of this other person. And I turned round and there's Gary, and he's about the same height as me. And it was like, hello, you must be Gary Numan. And he was like, you must be the drummer. And it was just like, wow. And it was a real moment because everyone knew I was dying to meet him. And everyone in the group of about 5 people in a circle with Gemma and his daughter Raven was there, and Doug, and 3 members of Susie's band. And it just kind of left me for a moment to say things like, you know, I didn't make too much of a fanboy idiot of myself. But I was like, man, I've got all your records. I grew up listening to you, man. It's great to finally meet you. And I said, you know what? I've been so close to meeting you many times at Susie gigs, but you know, it's one of those classic things where I'd see him sort of stood there, I'd start walking towards him and I'd quickly sort of veer off like, oh, I've got something to do over here. Because he said, why? I said, because I had a red streak in my hair. And he went, right. And I was like, I put that red streak in my hair because I wanted to be seen on the drum riser, you know, and spiked my hair up. But I put the red in because it was influenced by your I Die You Die video back in 1980. And he was like, no way. And he was laughing and he was sort of doubling over. I was like, yeah. And I said, I couldn't go and face you with it because you might look at me and go, been there, done that, mate. Oh, and he said, I wouldn't have said that. I said, I know, but it's just one of those things when you're nervous about meeting somebody that you know you've directly copied. I told him the story of in Corsham, where we lived at the top of the street in the house nearest the Corsham school. And there's a cul-de-sac. It's a cul-de-sac basically. And we used to play football out there. And I remember my mum opening the window and saying, Robert, Gary Numan's on telly. She doesn't really speak like that. And me and my mates all ran to the window because she would never let them in because their shoes were dirty. And we were watching through the window and it was like, oh my God, look at Gary's hair. And seriously, the next day when we went to school, everybody was talking about the red the red streak even in Gary's hair. And he was just doubling over laughing, said, no way. I said, yeah, you blew Corsham's tiny little mind with that red streak. And he said, well, you know what? I probably copied it from somewhere anyway. So, you know, everyone's copying something. And then we went on to talk about music and stuff like that. But it was just so nice to have a laugh with him and connect with him on something that really inspired me when I first joined Susie in 2007 and 8 to put the red streak in my hair. It was a real thing. And we probably carried on talking as a group about life, music, the universe and everything for about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. And it was wonderful. And then eventually he left and went back to his tour bus and stuff. But it was a real moment. And all the band were like, see, you've done it. And then instantly Doug was like, oh, I didn't take a picture. I said, Doug, don't worry. Stored away in here, my man, forever. You know, Rob's met his first teen pop idol. Yeah, I just remember those days at home looking at the records, and I've still got them, haven't I? Because I talk about them sometimes on the random record review or whatever. I've still got the actual albums. They're not new ones, they're the actual ones from the 70s, and they smell like it too. Yeah, and it just meant a lot to me, Gary, as a pop star, as a sort of an icon, and helped me to play drums. I play along to those records in the garage, much to my dad's disdain. He didn't like that much. But yeah, playing to all those records, Telecon, Replicas, the Tubeway Army album, Pleasure Principle, Warriors, Berserker, Fury, you name it. I would sit there and bang away pretending I was Cedric Sharpley or Jez Lydiard, who are the two drummers that are sort of on most of the bulk of those records. Phenomenal. And obviously, very sadly, Cedric Sharpley passed away a few years ago. And that was a sad day. And his birthday was the day after mine. Me and my dad and my nan were July the 1st and he was July 2nd. And I always remember that from my fan club stuff, because I had all the Gary Numan fan club stuff. Anyway, I'm whittering on because I'm a fanboy now. But I just wanted to share that with you. As I say, in a way, it would have been nice to have some pictures to say, there's me in Gaza. But, you know, it's all in here forevermore. So I just wanted to share that little thing. Not much drumming in this video, but hey, why not? This channel is about all kinds of different things. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like Gary Numan, go and play some music, and I'll catch up with you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.